Hello, everybody. This is Justin again with the Talk-ish podcast. I'm joined here by my sister, Heidi Talk-ish,
Whiting.
a.k.a., or her real last name is Whiting, but just for the sake of the show. And then we have a guest here today who I was thinking about you whenever we had kind of secured, like, in terms of guests. And you were like the first person that came to my mind because, like, I really appreciate, like, just what I see you doing on social media. Like, you have a real heart to help people, and I see that, and so I was like, what a perfect guest to have on our show. My friend, Rahsaan Boone.
Yep.
I met you for the first time at Sanders' wedding.
Oh yeah.
Back in 2010, something like that.
Yeah.
You had longer hair.
I did. Had braids. Yeah.
Did you?
Kind of like what you got going on, but not.
It was long,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, when I saw your hair, I was like, yo, I'm feeling that. Like, I wanted some hair like that. And I remember because y'all look really clean. Like, Sanders and his groomsmen, you, Sanders, and Isaiah. I can't remember who else, but that was my first time meeting you. And then we went to that. It was the concert.
Oh, was it Lecrae?
Lecrae.
Yeah.
Oh, Lecrae.
And Andy Mineo, I think he was there.
That was pretty cool.
Went to that concert. But anyway, could you just maybe talk a little bit about what I'm talking about, what you do?
Yeah, Rahsaan Boone. I'm a brand designer, strategist, online business coach, and so I've been doing this for a few years, and also a cartoonist. I have a lot of different things going on.
Really? You didn't tell me that.
I have a comic book, and I help people design their books, and a lot of things we're going to talk about. But yeah,
So we were working with
aerospace
company, and then for people who aren't like in the Seattle area, like that's for the Pittsburgh equivalent, right? Working for Boeing is like working for the mill.
The steel mill, I was thinking.
It's like the main big industry out here, and if you get a job with them, then you'll it's a good job to have, right? People don't typically just up and leave those jobs.
Yeah, they don't want you to leave. I was a 6-figure, electrician, cushy job. But then so before that, I was working at the welding shop in Kent, and then I was like, I need to get a career going. I'm getting older, right? And so I was like, let me get a job at this aerospace company as an electrician. After 9 months, I was laid off with 1,600 others. And then it just opened my eyes to like how vulnerable I am to these companies. And so I vowed to myself to never let a company or person have that much power over me again.
Ooh, that's big.
And so I ended up quitting a few years back, or in 2020, and I've been doing this ever since.
Wow.
That's powerful, right?
It is.
What was the emotion that were coming up for you in that process of going from that to kind of venturing out?
And how long was the time span after, you got laid off to where you really started, picking up doing your own thing?
So I was laid off. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. So, before I got laid off, they, actually, let me rewind a little bit back before that. So at the welding shop, I saw a guy lose 3 fingers.
Ooh.
And so, again, I was just like, okay, I'm getting older. My body can't take my knees are done right now. Right. And so I was like, I need a cushy job. I go there, and then I apply online, get in at the aerospace company. But then, I was like, I want to start my own comic book. Right. I've always been drawing, always a cartoonist my whole life, just random. And so I was like, I'm going to start this comic book. And then when I started creating this comic book, no one really wanted the book. They were just like, how'd you create the book? And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe I got something in the future, So
Got it. Okay.
And so that kind of started it, just people asking questions of like, how'd you create this thing? But yeah.
That's dope. So like,
Oh, and sorry, the emotions,
Yeah, yeah.
the emotions that came from being laid off. I felt powerless and I was just angry, and I have control issues, but like in a good way. I don't want people controlling my revenue and like my livelihood. So that kind of just those.
I think that's a good type of control to want.
Yeah,
That's
Right.
an appropriate
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
place
like,
to play, you know.
yeah, because it's like you're controlling you.
right.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm not going to have my outcome be dictated. Like I think we get into problems when we try to control
Others.
other
Yes,
folks,
yes,
right?
yeah, 100%.
But like, nah, if I'm gonna live my life, these are the rules
Absolutely.
for how my life is gonna go. And I always, it's one of the things I tell people a lot in my practice, right, as a therapist, because so much of what people are coping with is this brutal kind of world of business that doesn't take into people's humanity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't. And so that is the system we have, right? I mean, we don't have any other way to get out of that. So we have to adjust to these systems that at the end of the day are really inhumane. And if something happens to us, the machine continues to move on.
Right.
We will not be remembered. It doesn't matter how dedicated, how much blood, sweat, and tears went in. The machine keeps moving. And so I tell people, man, like, you have to make this life work for you, because if you just sit back and let it happen, your humanity is not going to be recognized at all.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get a chance to smell the roses. You'll never get a chance to, enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people get stuck into like a survival mindset when it comes to work, and but we don't often leave room for living our life.
Yeah,
Right.
my mom, we grew up, with that mentality of like survival. She was
Yeah.
always saying,
Oh,
"This
yeah.
is survival food. We're just trying to survive," and so that was ingrained.
Yeah.
There was one day I was just eating some top ramen. And I was like, "Why am I still eating this?" And so just those habits and behaviors from
Yeah.
childhood. So when it comes to capitalism, I'm all about capitalism with boundaries.
Yeah.
And so, capitalism is it will destroy itself if left unattended. It destroys
Yeah.
itself and destroys everything around it.
Mhm.
But with boundaries, like for example, like I turn off my phone on Sunday. Like no one can't contact me. I'm not on social media. It's off, and I'm with my family, right? So I have these structures and boundaries around me. I'm all about making money, but I have systems in place.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you recognize business is important, but also my humanity is important,
yeah.
and I think, the nature of it now is, I remember they were having all those tornadoes. I remember in the Midwest, remember there were like tornadoes coming down and killing everybody. And like Amazon was like, y'all still better go to work.
Damn.
And then like a tornado hit one of their warehouses, and like it was just like,
Ain't worth it.
yeah. I mean, and I think after 2022, like life seemed to be very cheap back then. I remember they were talking about killing off grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Like
Damn.
they owed it. Like, what are you talking about? That's grandma and grandpa, right? And so we have to make life work for you. And I think a lot of times that means crudely carving it out.
Yeah.
Which
is
making
like
a
you
space
did.
for it, right?
Right.
Which is what you did.
And it must be difficult because some people have these very tangible, I want to say tangible gifts per se, right? Where you have a skill, tangible skills, where you have a skill that in some way fits into the production of, America, but I'm really more curious about you're an artist. Yeah, you're an artist and you're into the arts and the creativity. And did you find any particular challenges as far as your particular skill set in making your own way? You know, because I feel like there's so many starving artists out here, and so many people who have these skills that just sometimes they just don't pay the bills. You know, so
right.
So how did that work for you?
Well, first, I think we're all artists. I think we're all preaching a little bit, but we're all designers. We're all musicians. We all can sing. We're all scientists, right? But to answer your question, I basically started investing in myself. So like investing in coaches, mentors, courses, ebooks, just YouTube University, free. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I started investing in myself. Like everyone's like, oh, invest in the stock market, invest in this, invest in that. I was like, I need to invest in skills, like you said. And the more you stack your skills, the better you become. So like I created my own podcast, for example, and I was trying to give him some tips. But you know, learning how to video edit and all that stuff, the skills just start stacking. And then once you have enough skill set, you can create your own program. You can create your own system. And that's what I encourage people to do. Like, you should have your own book. Like, your therapist, you should have a journal. I think we were trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
Here's your business strategist. Go on.
Listen.
I'm over here like, we'll be
yeah,
you know.
your own ecosystem of products and services, right? So, for example, therapists, you have the service, you have the one-on-one. There should be a group coaching. There should be an ebook, a book. There should be you know what I mean? There should be merchandise.
Fired.
You have... you have this ecosystem and then you own it. So if you were ever laid off from your job, or you can work this thing alongside of it, you have something.
So you're expanding the borders of your art. So it's not just, you know, it's like a multifaceted type, you know, deal. And
I want to bring up something though, real quick, because I think this is really highlighting it. One of the things that really impressed me about what you said was like, I just started stacking these skills, start getting coaches and stuff like that. And you said it, and it sounded very easy to do that. And I know for me, and I know other people like me,
probably me,
that to not know something, right, is a place where people get anxious, right? And like, well, I don't know something that. And so they'll become so focused on what they don't know as opposed to just accepting that they don't know something, which then makes them like this empty vessel to learn new things, right? And so I think what you were saying starts off with kind of a humility to be able to say, I don't know how to do these things.
I don't have you can't fill a cup that's already full.
And so why I say that is because my wheels have been spinning in terms of just like business stuff. Primarily because it's not a strength of mine. It's something I don't really know how to do. There are a lot of things I do well, right? But business just ain't one of them. You know, and I love what you said about the artists and creatives and stuff like that. I believe that's true. And so, and that's kind of what I'm more leaning into now is my art, right? I think this is art. I think, you know, my book is art. I've been actually drawing just to help, you know, and it's been very, very emotionally regulating and all that stuff like that. But yeah, I wanted to talk about like maybe was there any process for you to just get from the place of I don't know, let me go get some help?
Yeah, there was, and it was basically, well, can I cuss on this? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay.
We love cuss words.
Yeah, bring it on.
I was like, I came to the point where I don't know shit, you know what I mean? And so like that reality, well, that was one thing, and then the other thing, I tried so much to figure it out on my own, where I wasn't getting anywhere. I was just stuck. So I was forced to get a coach or a mentor.
Got it.
Right. And so there was already a couple of people up top of mind. This is why it's important to create social media content, because with certain things, you could be top of mind in people's head, right? So anyway, this coach was top of mind. I invested in him, changed my life. But yeah, those two things, just not knowing shit and coming to a place where I did everything on my own and I can't go any further.
Yeah. So I think it's like, but you have to be honest with yourself. Like I'm not.
Oh, so I created my own journal. Because I was looking for, I think I gave you a couple, but I was looking for journals on the market that were like brutally honest and maybe a little, controversial with some of the journal prompts. And so like on sex and things like that. And I couldn't find anything because they're all fluffy and just whatever. Yeah. So I was like, okay, let me create my own. So I created my own. And then once I created this thing, I started writing in it. A lot of like healing happened. Like from exes, like something called the unsent letter to my dad. Like I wrote that. Like a lot of healing happening in this journal, and a lot of
It's a published journal?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
And brutal honesty came with like not knowing certain things. I need help. So actually, journaling was a big part of the journey.
Wow.
So
yeah,
it's more like, so you have like it's an essayist, like when I think of journaling, and like I think of an essayist, like James Baldwin was an essayist. He didn't write books; he wrote essays. Is it kind of around like along those lines? 'Cause I don't think I've ever like. It's very interesting because I journal every single day.
Is it just a blank piece of paper or blank book, or with lines, or does it have like questions in
No.
it? Okay, so that's what I created. Just questions.
Got it.
Like,
I love that.
What was some of the questions?
I love that. That's really cool.
So again, like the unsent letter, write a letter to someone that you can't. Maybe they're dead. Maybe it's an ex. Maybe someone you just need to share something you can't.
That reminds me of they have this thing that's going on TikTok. What was for a while? It's called the shadow work journal. Have you ever heard of that?
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I actually, bought it. That's good. I never that is really good. Something like that. Yeah. That is awesome because you don't see that.
No, it was
like you
rare.
Said, fluffy, the things, the self-help, like give yourself a warm hug today, instead of like call this bitch in and cuss her the fuck out. Or like call the last bitch that said something smart to you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Real stuff. So that's
absolutely. I'd buy it.
Yo.
But thank you. You gave me an idea because I got a whole bunch of journal prompts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll help you formulate it. I got you.
Yes. Okay.
Speaking of, your creations, I want to talk a little bit about cheesecake.
Oh, Cheesecake Chuck.
Cheesecake Chuck. And this is you're a captive audience now, so I can ask you this. Can you explain to me your love for cheesecake? You love cheesecake more than I see people love their spouses, their pets. You love cheesecake.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so everyone has a favorite dessert, right? So I always loved cheesecake, regular New York style cheesecake. And then it just became a running joke. People were like, "Oh, you want some cheesecake?" Blah blah blah, whatever. So then, every time I went to Jack in the Box, they would have cheesecake, and every time I went there, I would just buy cheesecake. I always bought cheesecake, and then, so I created this comic like 10 years ago about myself, and then I was like, "What if I made a comic about a cheesecake?" About me transforming into a cheesecake, because the character, he's a scientist, he's an innovator, and so he creates this thing. Eating cheesecake. I don't know how the origin is. I haven't created that part yet. But anyway, he turns into a cheesecake, and now the character or the comic is called Cheesecake Chuck, and it's based off just my life and a lot of my innovations and a lot of entrepreneurship stuff is in the book too. So
that's really cool.
And the goal is in 2026 to have it on Netflix. This is just a dream.
Oh, come on now, dream.
But the business is going to support that. And I plan on exiting my business in 2026 to pursue my childhood dream. So
I love that. You're a man with a plan.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
I love
but
that.
Yeah, I love cheesecake. You don't love cheesecake?
Nah.
Cheesecake is
Nah, I really don't.
That's why when the list on social media about like where not to take women, like Cheesecake Factory is like number one. I was like, what? I love cheesecake.
I thought that was the most ridiculous thing. Did you see the video that it was related from? I thought that was ridiculous.
It was a skit though. So
a
lot of people didn't know it was a skit, and then the thing just took off. It was actually a skit, yeah.
But we believe everything. Even if you said it was a skit, if I said skit, everybody would still be like, no, it was the truth. Yeah. you'd be surprised to see how much stuff is actually scripted before.
Yeah,
You know,
for real.
all of these things that are so-called random, most of it's scripted.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you about your social media experience. And I know this is like something that it's just a part of my, it's just going to be a part of my reality now that, you know, if I want, you know, I got to start doing things on social media.
Mm-hmm.
What have you noticed and what do you see as like social media being the platform of like, I guess like, do you have any projections of social media as far as business and social media?
And where it's headed?
Yeah, where it's headed. What are your projections?
Actually, I do. I think it's since AI and a lot of stuff's going to be like, I can't tell if this is real. So I think personal brands are going to be the ones that stand out more and make a bigger impact. And people are going to look for or go to them for like advice and products and services because we can't tell what's real anymore. And so like Gary Vaynerchuk or I forget who these popular guys are, but like they're just gonna be more trusted because okay, this person's giving value, they're giving tips, they're showing up consistently, they're a real person. But you know these random memes and tweets and stuff are like, who is this person? We don't know. So I think personal branding, meaning you're showing who you are, you're showing a little bit of your lifestyle. You know, some of this stuff you can share, sharing your journey, your truth. I think that's going to resonate with more people on social media and story driven content, not just random stuff like, you know, tell a story with your content, like your beginning. And
that's so good. Like, because one of the things I think about social media, especially TikTok, is like it's overwhelming. You're getting so much thrown at you, but there are particular voices who stick out to me that I find that I trust. I forget what the guy's name is, but he's a guy who does mindfulness with people, and he always starts with the camera off of him, and then he kind of brings himself in. Every time I see him, like I know what he's about, and that's his brand, right? And man, I think I never had thought about, like, with so much being out there right now, like people are looking for sources that are like kind of vetted and proven, right?
And authentic. I feel like you can't find a lot of authenticity. I feel like so many people parrot other people, and I feel like people don't have opinions on things until it's a hot topic. It just like the Palestinian thing and the stuff that's going on in Palestine. I've been talking about Palestine years. I mean, you have all these people who are so-called social justice, you know, reform people. You're just now talking about Palestine now that this, you know,
trending.
Now that it's trending. I've been talking about it for years, and that's the thing. It's just like, and I think kind of that's where I kind of get frustrated, is because like people only trend, like they only, unless it's a trend, that's the only time people hear. You really have really authentic people with their ear to the ground telling about some really, really important things. That's me. I mean, you know, I'm in social justice and, you know, revolutionary thought and philosophy. And so, but then you get this, and then you have this really famous TikToker who is saying some kind of half-baked, half-researched,
one-sided,
half-researched thing that just, and it's so watered down because they don't want to offend a lot of people, and it's just like sometimes you need the raw truth. So I find that it's pretty frustrating to navigate. I really don't like to unfollow people because I've always been the type of person to eat the fish and spit out the bones, whether or not you know, I completely understand. I'm not going to agree with everything that most people say, you know, so, but I feel like they just get they just get so much of a platform, and it's just, and it's kind of frustrating. So it's I guess it's refreshing to hear your projections.
Well, so put some iconic music behind this, what I'm about to say. The media, or we don't get to choose what we're mad about. The media chooses it for us, right? And because
very true.
What's trending, it's like, okay, like you said, there's a lot of stuff. There's genocide happening in Congo. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening. but no one's talking about it on the mainstream anyway. But yeah, what's trending is like that's what everyone's talking about, and then like you said, they get a cherry pick. They don't even know the full story, right? So, but then that's why like your voice is important. That's why you can share your point of view on your social media. You can do your little part, or not little part. You can do your part, and that makes a big difference. So,
and I think that's like the importance of branding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Branding is the thing that's going to help you stand out, among all the other voices, right?
Yep.
And so
because they'll recognize you, recognize your brand, everything.
So like people who are passionate, who are authentic, right? Typically these, I think of like revolutionaries like Fred Hampton and stuff like that, right? They're like these revolutionaries, but there's a branding aspect, especially even more so now, with so much out there, like what's going to make you stand out, and I think that really speaks to kind of some self-awareness too, right? Like it's always easier if somebody says, hey, name all the things that you don't like about yourself. Name all the places that you're not good, name all the things you're not good at, right? And then give them the same amount of time to focus on their good qualities, their strengths. People struggle to find those things. And so I think branding, I think the most effective kind of branding that comes from something that kind of accentuates somebody's strengths and qualities, right? There has to be a connection to that, and I tell people, like, man, you got to be your number one fan. You know what I'm saying? You got to be the fan before everybody else is.
That is true.
Because if you're not sold on you,
you can't sell
you ain't
anybody
gonna be
else.
able to sell anybody else on
Very
you.
true.
And so understanding and recognizing that we all have a unique voice, we could be saying the same thing.
Yep.
And somebody hear it completely different, people who I can get to Rahsaan, that I can't get to, Rahsaan can get to them, right?
Yeah,
and all this stuff like that. And so it's all of our voices. And I've heard that too with like, well, everybody's talking about it. You ain't saying it. You know what I'm saying? And but I think it does come down to recognizing that we have something valuable. There's something in us that's valuable that we have to offer the world. And, oftentimes with trauma, one of the things that hits our self-worth the most is trauma. I mean, it just, it messes up, our sense of self-worth. And, because that's something I would love to see people doing more, right? Is taking their life by the reins and directing it where they want to go. But I think it starts with a belief that you have something valuable to this world, like that you are valuable. I'm curious as for you, maybe we can end here because I think we're about out of time. Who believed in you? That kind of, was there anybody who believed in you that helped you kind of believe in you?
Yeah, my dad, even though we're not close, when I was like 8, he bought me a How to Draw like Bart Simpson book. And I always remember that, and that's kind of how the journey started. And my mom buying me different drawing books and stuff like that. My brother Devin, or all my family members really, but there was no like particular. It's kind of like a range of people, family and friends that kind of helped me.
You got a system. Yeah,
System.
support system.
System.
That's
The
very,
system
very
is
big.
the solution.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
one of the best quotes because
Yeah.
people they try to lead or look to leaders and look to all these other things, but the system is the solution. Like I don't know who's gonna be president, I don't care, but like the system, we got to look at the system. So
Absolutely.
that's why I encourage people, own your own system.
I love that. Own your own
Bars.
system. That is bars. That's bars, kind of. Yeah.
I think we're just about at a close here. Anything you want to say? This is kind of your time to maybe where people can find you, stuff like that.
The services that you offer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I have two programs. I help people create their own book. Then I help them market it and sell it. That's one program, and the other one I help coaches or help people become coaches and consultants, packaging their knowledge, experience, and skills into a program. So those two programs, if anyone's interested, let me know. But yeah.
In the book one.
Yeah, in the book. Yep, the book one. I design it, brand it, do the editing, all that stuff. So you just have to talk about it.
All right.
So.
And I could do that.
But yeah, I'm proud that you're doing this, man, because you were talking about the podcast for a minute, and this is really, really dope and inspiring. So, I'm in my room with a little mic. This is like making me have to step my game up. So, I'm liking it. So you guys are doing a good job.
Hey, man, we really appreciate you
having
being
you.
here, man. It was dope having this.
I know I
conversation
learned a
with you.
lot today, and I'm definitely going to be talking to you more about certain things because you have piqued my interest.
Because the Talkish podcast needs some help.
My book needs some help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to do a part two. We'll do
Absolutely.
a part two.
We could do that. We could do that. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you.